The professional photography paradox. I believe it's a paradox. You'll correct me if I'm wrong on this. I know. Photography is a weird career, and the reason so many of you struggle with it is because of this particular fact. Let's take myself as an example here. I am a business. I am selling to people. But at the same time, people are selling to me. Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Blackmagic, Aperture, Broncolor, Profoto, they're all selling to me. My profession also exists as a hobby. And those people are selling to them and they're selling to nobody. We have this huge amount of information on equipment, on technical stuff out there, because there's a huge selling force hitting us because of this population over here who are hobbyists. As professionals, we need to pop up a shield and block that and focus on selling over here. But it's very difficult because we're made to believe all of these things about kit are so important. I know I am. I am regularly going, is this the right kit for the job? And I'm the person on the internet who goes, don't worry about kit. I'm still a sucker for it. Don't let me lure into some false sense of security where I'm like, yes, I don't worry about my kit ever. I worry about it. I just know I shouldn't. Now, my next step will be not worrying about it. But we live in a weird ecosystem. It's so common that I see photographers who have spent all this time in their business, instead of selling to somebody, focusing on what they're buying from somebody else. I've seen it financially, where photographers have spent huge sums of money on equipment they believe they need and haven't got the work. I've seen it where they've spent huge chunks of time learning about this equipment they're being sold and not on selling to somebody else. Now, of course, if you're a hobbyist, buy, play with, enjoy. That's what the hobby is. I have a hobby of film photography. You better believe I buy hard. I barely use it. But when it comes to my film photography, I'm the standard hobbyist photographer with too much money. I have these beautiful, purely mechanically built brass cameras, lovely film inside them, which I sometimes shoot and never develop. And they sit in a special chamber which keeps the atmosphere all nice, and they're just wasting away. But because of this weird shift, and of course it exists in all things, like if you're a painter and decorator, paint companies are trying to sell you paint. But not many people paint their living room as a hobby. It's through necessity. And, these trade people don't seem to be duped in the same way that we do. And of course, image quality matters to an extent. And of course, kit working matters to an extent. But I just feel in our industry, we are so ridiculously sold at. We are so overly engaging in it. And it's not for us. Camera brands don't, for the most part, make cameras for professionals. They just don't. With the exceptions of Phase 1, Canon Sportline, Nikon Sportline. They're very niche things. They're massive telephoto lenses, but most cameras are not made for pros. They're made for enthusiasts, they're made for hobbyists, and we just use them as pros. My Fuji GFX 100S, that's designed for a pro photographer. My 5DS was designed for a pro photographer. But a 5D Mark IV, that can be used by anybody. It's not got massive file size. It's not, it's quite friendly. Your hobbyist can get a 5D Mark IV and not have to worry about computer upgrades and hard drive upgrades. It's a great bit of kit. Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is just, we get so sucked into it. And I am starting a new rule in my studio that no kit gets bought until April next year. I'm not buying kit until April next year. Nothing. I'm not buying a thing. And then, if I truly need it, I will buy it. But I'm not buying anything. I'm not buying new lenses. I'm not buying more lights. I've got enough. I've got plenty. I'm just not buying new kit until April next year. And I'm going to see, with that in mind, how much more my focus shifts, how much more it moves over to photography from cameras, and whether I gain from that. And I will let you all know next April, or I'll take you shopping with me when I go on my big spending spree. But just be aware of this. Be aware that we sit in the middle of people selling to us whilst we're selling to people. And of course, that's the same in most businesses. There's always a supplier. I mean, you're saying, Scott, you idiot. Building merchants, they're being sold bricks. Yeah, of course. I just feel that we get sucked in a little bit more than we should do, especially when starting out in photography. I think the more you've been in it, the less you care. When I go and work with like a 56-year-old photographer I represent, they're using the same camera they bought 35 years ago. And they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. They want to spend more money on a camera. This does the job. They don't even know what the latest camera is. I mean, I never know what the latest camera is, but that's more because I can't keep up with the names. They're so confusing. An A7S5R, whatever. Just call it something cool like Billy. Billy the camera. This is why I don't have a camera brand, isn't it? I'd go bankrupt pretty quick. Here's Billy. That's Jane. There's Simon. There we go. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.